Hero here with another PokerCruncher tutorial. So hopefully you watched the first part of this video. In the first part we did a very tight player in a 3-bet pot. So they gave us a kind of small and well-defined range. This one I'm doing the exact opposite example. I'm trying to give it someone with a ridiculously wide range. Now I'm picking these as extremes intentionally to show you kind of the difference between the real tight and the real loose and kind of how you can play against those player types and generalities. So if you guys have a situation you want me to run through, leave a comment and I'll try to make a video or find a hand that covers it. I'm thinking about doing a series of these things because these are great exercises for me, and hey, some of you guys seem to enjoy them. So onto the hand. So this hand is actually from last night. Once in a while you get in these games, and this is 10 NL, which is not the true beginner stakes, but you find someone that is the great white buffalo, just a ridiculously poor player that you just want to be against. So on our right here, we have a guy that in 65 hands is playing an incredible 92% of them. So when I told you this was a laughable extreme, I was right. But let's use this as our example here. So we'll play the numbers a little bit and kind of show you how you can do the math, not only for someone this wide, but also for a little bit tighter player. And some of the more reasonable guys you see in these games still play, 50% of hands, stuff like that. So we'll do some scenarios here. But all right, so we're on the button with King 10 offsuit. He opened. I'll move that. He opened lips. All right. Obviously, he's playing a 92-3. He's doing that all the time. I would raise over here with a very wide range. When you're playing a button like this, so you're probably playing about 50% of hands already. Against a player like this, though, that is going to call so wide, I might even raise here 55% of hands, 60% of hands, something like that. And King 10 also is certainly within that range. So you do raise over a limp. Make sure you're adding that extra big blind in there. So instead of raising to 3 big blinds here, raise to 4. Now, normally when you raise and you get the 4 big blinds of this scenario, is you're less likely to get 3-bet. The bigger the raise it is, the less likely the players to your left to R2 3-bet. But I'm looking over here. This guy, it's only 27 hands. He's in 3-bet at all. This guy here is 4,000 hands, which is a lot. This actually might be the guy from the last video. But he's only a 4% 3-bet. He 3-bet steals 6% of the time. And I'm just going to give it up if I do get 3-bet here. I'm just going to assume that he has a premium range. I'm going to have to not continue, assuming he makes a reasonably sized raise. So both these guys fold. Point is, you always have to have a plan for the hand. So the guys do 3-bet and stuff, though, what are you going to do? And as this guy likes to do, he calls. So if you guys are playing in low stakes here where there's a lot of limping, a stat I've thrown in my HUD here is limp then fold. So this guy in 13 opportunities, he has not folded any of them. So the stat is if it's limp, you get raised. Do you call the raise or do you continue or do you fold? So if you're looking at guys that are limping a lot, yeah, I was playing against someone on a different table a night or two ago that had a 95% limp fold rate. So if they limped and you raised them 95% of the time, they would fold. So I must have been in a 2-hour session, raised their limp 30 times, and I think they folded every single one of them. And it's just a 1 big blind pickup, but those start adding up. So not getting into PokerCruncher, so let's get there. So he calls, of course, and we're on to the flop. So before we even get there, let's plug in our hands. I got a king, I got a 10, I get the suits right. Not terribly important in this scenario. What does he have? Drag this guy down, and guys, I don't know what an 92% range looks like. So about that. So we are crushing it. He is calling with his hands as poor as 10-2 offsuit, 9-3 offsuit, 4-3 offsuit. He's calling with every single suited combo. It's hard to find a hand he's not calling with. This is a dream scenario, and do flag a guy like this and make sure you're playing against him in the future. King 10 off is not a premium hand. It is some high card value. I mean, he has every possible ace here. Still, just against his range, I think you still got to have 58% equity. Let's see here. Oh, I'm getting pretty good at doing these, 59%. All right. So this is what you do here. Keep trying these guys. You'll learn these numbers. So, all right. So just take a look and realize what a 92% range looks like. And realize how wide this guy is actually playing. Now, this is ridiculous. You're not going to see this in most guys in your games. This is a ridiculous example, but it's what we got here. So we get to a flop. It's a queen, queen, 7 flop. So before we analyze this, think to yourself, do you c-bet this flop or not? Before we do any analysis, do you c-bet it or not? So you've missed the board. Do you c-bet this flop or not? So opponent checks to us, which is expected. He's not going to play real aggressively. If he does bet, perhaps we give him credit for a queen. So let's take a look at what the math says. So let's put in here queen, queen, 7, diamond. It's a club. I don't think it really matters here, but let's make it accurate. I'm going to change this guy here down here instead of dealing to the river because I don't want to put the next 2 cards in here, though. I just want to see how I look in the flop right now. So I'm going to change this to flop. I'm going to take a guess here that he's missed the board 70% of the time. He has nothing. He doesn't have a pair or draw or anything. He just has random high cards. I'm going to guess our equity with the king has probably actually improved a little bit, and now we're up to about 64%. All right. So we actually dropped in equity a little bit to 56%. He's 44%. All right. So let's take a look at this and try to figure out what's going on here. So when we get to the flop, all these combinations here. So let's look over here and let's figure out where we are. When you look over here, you have to realize that he's a 1-pair hand. He doesn't have any high cards here, so I misspoke in that regards earlier. When it's actually, if you flip the hit hand, that's why we do it. So there's the difference here in PokerCruncher is the make hand stats include the board cards, meaning if you have the queens here, so you see how he has no high cards and 73% pairs, that includes the pocket queens from the board. The hit hand stats do not include those cards, or makes you play the cards from your own hand. There's a little explanation over here. You can hit that question mark. It gives a little bit more lengthy explanation than I just did. In a scenario where the board is paired and you want to see how using the player's whole cards plays out here, this is a good way to do it. So, all right. That makes more sense. So the high card here is he has missed the board and has no pair here 73% of the time. I guess 70 and we were kind of close. The 1-pair hands he has here are some 7s. I mean, he's got a lot of combos of 7s. He has few 2 pairs. I mean, these are just the pocket pairs. He has pocket. Oh, see, he has some queen combinations that gives you 3 of a kind. But here's the important thing is he has missed the flop 73% of the time. So let's combine that information with some of his HUD stats. So he folds to a continuation bet on the flop 47% of the time. So if he's folding, say, half the time, and he's missed the board 73% of the time, he's going to start folding out all of his unpaired hands, except if he wants to, he's going to have to call with some just straight ace highs that do not have a lot of equity here. So look at it this way: this guy's going to fold on a flop like this, particularly a paired one here, at least half of the time. This is not a board that hits him. It's a board that hits the pre-flop raiser with big cards better than the pre-flop caller in this case. The important part here, and we'll do an exercise here, we're going to take King 10 out of my range. We're going to give us 100% of hands. And we're going to redo the math. The equity's changed a little bit just because you see that, we're taking out some very porous combos from every hand. He's a very porous combos in his range. But look at it. The math over here doesn't change. He still has a high card 74% of the time. 74% of the time he missed this flop. So when you see a situation like this where you know somebody has missed that often, you have to c-bet every single time. This is a hard board to hit. So you want to do it with kind of a smaller sizing. So in something like this, though, I would probably go with third pot, somewhere like 32 cents. I think mine set to like 34% or something weird, but yeah, 32 cents, and you get a fold. So the important part here is not really the hand, it's just how to use PokerCruncher and the example that you're getting out of here. So when you're looking at a guy's range, though, try to figure out using these make hands or hit hand stats and deal with the flop and try to figure out how often has his hand hit this type of flop. If you see someone that has missed the flop 74% of the time, in this case 73 as we saw before, attack that. You have to see that guy particularly in position every time. So let's play around a little bit differently here. Let's give him a so one thing you can do here is if you don't want to change the boards, you can just highlight this, remove. Let's say he's a little bit more reasonable and he's going to call with 50% of hands. Add 50%. Let's say because he's a little bit more reasonable, I'm not doing all the hands. I'm going to do top 25%. I'm making up numbers here. I would probably play this a little bit differently. I'll play the pairs. Probably some hands like that I'm a little more likely to call with. Some of these guys I would raise with. Something. I don't like playing these low suited kings, but something like that. All right. So how has this changed? I mean, he's gone from, we have about 25% of hands. He has 50% of hands. How do you think this has affected us? Well, he has a lot less junk here. He also has a lot less queens. You see all these queens out here? He's a lot of those. So even though it's only a 50% range, that doesn't help him that much. Our range is tighter in response to it. I'm going to guess we have 56% equity ahead of time. I'm going to guess it's the same number. Let's see. All right. All right. It actually favors us a little because our range is stronger. Interesting. So in our scenario here, if you flip between the two ranges, which if you just click on between like the one range and the two range, it'll show you kind of graphically on the right-hand side what you have. He has every single ace in this situation where I don't have all of them, and ace high is going to win. And don't get me wrong, if you look at our range here, though, we're missing the flop with high cards 57% of the time. We just have we have the same number of pocket pairs as him. We have all the pocket pairs, as does the villain. The difference is the higher concentration of our range. So, so it's 13, so 11 times 6 is 66. So we have 70 combinations of pocket pairs here. He has the same 70, but we have 304 combos that we have 304 combos, so 70, divided by roughly 4. So we have like 22% pocket pairs in our range. And that makes sense because you look over here in two pairs, 22%. So that's how you can get to these numbers. So you hit a two pairs 22% of the time because you have the same number of pocket pairs with a higher concentration of your range. He hits two pairs 11% of the time because he has almost twice as many hands in his range. This is why it's important to do not only comparisons from your actual hand strength, but to the ranges in play here. You both, in the ranges we gave him now, in reality, he probably does something with aces and kings and stuff here, and that's fine. But in reality, if we gave us each both all the pocket pairs, our range is stronger because of the higher percentage of the hands that we play versus what the villain has, because he has twice as many combos in his range as we do. So, weird concept. Hopefully I explained that okay. This is a particularly wide range, a particularly interesting scenario, but a lot of the players at these type of games are still playing, a 45-10, a 33-15, which are still not great numbers. So we'll do further examples. We'll try to get into some more real life examples. I just want to give you a first one, real tight range, second one, real loose range. And we'll keep doing some examples to figure this out. So if you guys like this, certainly like or subscribe to the channel. And do leave me comments if the specific scenarios you want to see and run through. We can do it again. So, all right. Good night, guys. Good luck in your games.